All right. Now, this is not foolishness du jour. This is a step in the right direction. The state of Louisiana has passed legislation that make it the first state in the country requiring all public school classrooms to display the Ten Commandments in the classrooms. The bill was signed into law yesterday by Louisiana's Governor Jeff Landry. This is a phenomenal step. Here's a little bit of the details. Clip number 1. Go.
Louisiana is the first state to require that the Ten Commandments be displayed in every public school classroom. Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed the bill into law today. The legislation, written by Republicans, mandates that every public classroom, from kindergarten to college, must have a poster-sized display of the commandments in a, quote, large, easily readable font. Civil liberty groups, including the ACLU, are vowing to sue over this. They responded in a joint statement saying, quote, "We are preparing a lawsuit to challenge HB 71. The law violates the separation of church and state and is blatantly unconstitutional. Schools have until the start of 2025 to comply with the law."
You know, it's it's always interesting to me, if not outright laughable. And I don't know why we had to do who talk like this to describe what's happening in Louisiana. We should have had my man from Swamp People. Truth, Elizabeth. Louisiana has made the step to put the Ten Commandments in every classroom. Yeah, you're right, Cher. Instead of this guy, Louisiana has made the step. This is hilarious. But it's so interesting to me. So the groups that are going to sue, and it's remarkable to me that they want to sue because the same documents exist and are published in all types of public facilities all over the country, including our Supreme Court. So we can have the Ten Commandments at the Supreme Court, but we can't have them in school. And it's just amazing. And some who are listening, maybe new to the program, who may not even be aware of what the Ten Commandments say, you know, things like you shall not murder. That's horrible for children to learn. You know, we don't want the children to learn that they shouldn't murder. You know, you shall not covet. How about this one? Honor your father and your mother. Oh my goodness. We certainly don't want that to be included. And hey, by the way, hey, Johnny and Julie, you don't steal. You know, so this will provide a fresh opportunity for a conversation in the country for folks who are going to quote, you know, those 8 words, separation of church and the state, that do not appear anywhere in the United States Constitution. Don't appear anywhere in the Constitution. That our nation understood this up until 1947, a case called Everson, where for the first time in our nation's history, those 8 words were taken out of context. The 8 words were included in a personal letter from Thomas Jefferson to a group of Baptist Christians in Danbury, Connecticut, as this new nation's constitution was being debated. The Danbury Baptists had a question about whether or not they would be free from, and that's the interesting part, free from government interposition in matters of church. In describing or in answering their question, Thomas Jefferson assured the Danbury Baptists that no, the government has no say-so in matters of church policy because there's been a wall of separation erected keeping the government out of matters of church, not the other way around. So this will present a fresh opportunity for that to be navigated. It will be interesting to see, should litigation ensue, how that will be handled at the Supreme Court with its current makeup, because I'm confident the case would make it there. But it's just remarkable that who wouldn't want their children to learn that? The content, you know? It's just absolutely remarkable, you know, that you have people, the first thing they want to do is, oh no, we don't want that in government. So I applaud the state of Louisiana, Governor Jeff Landry, our friends at the Louisiana Family Forum, Gene Mills and his team. I know they had an instrumental role to play in getting this passed. You can go back and do your research to see the uptick in crime and violence in our nation when prayer was removed from public schools. And a lot of people fail to realize that the first congressionally sanctioned printed textbook for use in public education was, in fact, the Bible, not just the Ten Commandments, the whole Bible. But it's remarkable how far we've fallen as a society, as well as the consequences that we have suffered as a result. I mean, to this very day, there will be not a single person who would contradict the fact that right now, as it stands, our United States government has a paid chaplain on staff for Congress members. You want to talk about separation of church and state? There are U.S. taxpayer dollars that are used to hire clergy for Congress. This whole idea of separation of church and state is not only a decontextualized misapplication, it is rogue. So it'll be interesting to see how these things will be handled. Now, not to be outdone, oh boy. I wanna meet. If you guys know people who watch The View, I need y'all to tell me. I need to know who watches these shows. I need to know. Because I don't understand how The View stays on. And by the way, I don't think people realize this. I think it's ABC. The View comes on ABC, I believe. Do you realize ABC includes The View in its list of news shows? I'm sorry, that's just hilarious. News. You know. Wow. I mean, you want to talk about an evangelistic application of a description. Unsurprisingly, Whoopi Goldberg got quite upset about the state of Louisiana's new law. And there are just a couple things that are just frankly untrue that she is stating with such fervor. And she may very well be sincere in her communication, but sincerity is not synonymous with accuracy. You can be sincere and sincerely wrong. And I'm going to go through this exercise, not for Whoopi, because I'm pretty sure she doesn't listen to the show, but for you who are listening and watching the show, and for those who you come across, so that you have adequate responses to people who say similarly inaccurate things. This is Whoopi's response to the state of Louisiana. Clip number 2. Go.
You're telling me you're concerned about children learning things. One of the things that you don't seem to understand is I have the same respect for my child that I have for yours. I'm not asking you to believe what I believe. I'm not asking your kid to believe what I believe. Public school is public school. It means everybody can go to public school. I don't understand why, if you want your child to have a religious education, send them to a religious school. There's nothing stopping you. Get out of my pocket, get out of my body, and get out of my school.
Mm-hmm. So that was Whoopi. She had some things to say. So, first things first. She made the statement, if you want your child to go to receive religious instruction, send them to a religious school. Guys, I just want you to know, very simply, if you send your children to a godless education institution, you are sending them to a religious school. You are sending them to a religion of godlessness. See, the intrinsic notion that Whoopi is communicating is the demonic lie of neutrality. See, her intrinsic communication is that if we strip away any notions of divinity from what we call education, then that would be neutral. And that would be me not imposing my belief system upon you. But what you fail to recognize is that there's no such thing as neutral. What is happening when you have those who have yielded to the deception, the lie of neutrality, what actually has occurred is that you're embracing the imposition of godlessness as a religious default. That's point number one. I could spend a whole lot more time there, but I'm going to move on to point number two. Then you heard her quite passionately say, "Get out of my pocket." I'm so glad you said that. So glad you said that. Most of you who listen to this program, you know my wife and I, we disciple our children from home, including their education. But do you realize that we still pay tax dollars that are used for the godless indoctrination camps that we call schools? So if you want to say get out of my pocket, are you also assenting to the notion that if I direct my children's education away from your godless indoctrination camps, you said they're your schools, by the way, get out of my pocket, get out of my schools. So if I direct my children's education away from your godless indoctrination camps, then I should be able to keep my dollars away from there too, right? And ask Whoopi what she would say to that. She would, on a moment's notice, do an about face and say, no. We need everybody to still contribute their money. And there's the rub, ladies and gentlemen. No, she don't want you to get out of her pocket. She want to continue to get it in your pockets. She wants continued access to your pockets regardless of what you decide to do with your children's instruction. And I want you to understand that there are retirees who don't have any children who are still paying taxes to go to the schools, to the public school system. All over this country. All over this country. Which is why I'm telling you, she doesn't really mean what she's saying. What she wants is to continue to have a monopoly on the hearts and minds of the overwhelming majority of the American children, to impose the myth of neutrality, which is nothing more than godless indoctrination. Godlessness normalized is what she wants. And then she just comes out, get out of my body. That has nothing to do with what's being said, but what she's going to that familiar trope, or religious people, they want control of it, and which is, once again, insane, because these same people, many of them, I won't say most of them, many of them have no consistency in logic, because there are laws against public indecency, laws against nudity, laws against all these other kind of things. They never say any of this stuff about my body on those fronts. All they want is the right to elicit sexual activity and to kill the natural product of sexual intercourse between a man and a woman, which is a child. You know, the whole notion, and look, and I understand it. Y'all know I'm from the hood. I have my own family members have been touched by this. But this whole idea of unplanned pregnancy, except for the narrow context where a woman is violated in rape, you can't say an unplanned pregnancy. If I get in the car and turn on the ignition and put the car in drive, I can't play shocked that the car goes forward when I take my foot off the off the brake. I didn't press the gas yet, but I took my foot off the brake. I can't believe it, the car moved forward. When you lay down, you lay down. Let's stop the madness. But that is not germane to this particular conversation at the moment. But I get tired of the red herrings in our culture that is driven by lies and deception. And we use lies and deception to make argument and develop policy based on lies. You know, and I just not for it. So I want you to be aware. I want you to be aware. The next time somebody tells you get out of my pocket when it comes to education, you just be like, you get out of my pocket. It's you being in my pocket that's the problem. If you want to fund godless indoctrination, you fund godless indoctrination. I shouldn't have to agree with you. If I don't agree with your godless indoctrination, I shouldn't have to fund it. And this is building to the point I'm going to say next. We need to get out of this mindset that if you are a person who is committed to following Jesus Christ, we need to get out of the mindset that we're going to allow mainstream society to continue as it is, and we want to adopt a disposition of having an exemption to allow me to do what I want to do. Because that mentality has gotten us to where we are right now, to where the main thrust of society is perpetuated and perpetual godlessness, but we'll carve out an exemption for you to go ahead and pat you on your head and sit over here. That is not, first and foremost, what God requires of you and me. Secondarily, it is not what is made available to us, protected for us in our Constitution. We have the right to the free exercise of religion. In every scope of our society, we have the freedom to live according to our conscience and convictions in the Lord.